Hey guys, I'm Pixel Dan, and this is a review of the Masters of the Universe Classics, Thunder Punch He-Man. Another of the vintage variations of the main hero has made its way into the Classics lineup. But since he's just a variant, is he worth picking up? Let's find out. Thunder Punch He-Man comes in the standard Masters of the Universe Classics blister card packaging. Now, there is one noticeable difference here. If you look behind He-Man, you'll see that he comes packed with one of 3 brand new mini-comics being produced for the line in 2012. I must say, there's something pretty spectacular about seeing a mini-comic behind the figure, just like in the vintage days. The back of the box shows off some other figures in the Classics line, as well as gives us a brand new bio for Thunder Punch He-Man. For the most part, He-Man looks exactly like he did in his previous releases, with the same head sculpt and pretty much the same body design. Of course, this time around, he is wearing his red Thunder Punch armor, which is accentuated by a shiny vac metal silver logo on his chest. He's wearing the 2 short wrist gauntlets, colored in red, and his boots have the fur on top painted in white, while the boots themselves are a light brown. Now, one very important difference is that his right hand is in a closed fist, perfect for He-Man to make his Thunder Punch. Now, something that I noticed pretty much immediately is that his skin tone seems quite a bit lighter than we usually see on He-Man. Comparing him with the standard He-Man release, you can see that he has apparently lost his tan. I was curious if this was the same on the vintage figures, but you can see here that they have pretty much the same skin tone as each other. So I'm unsure why this new Thunder Punch He-Man has such light skin tone. Thunder! Thunder! Thunder Punch! Ho! Okay, wow, way wrong property, right? Alright, here we go. Thunder Punch He-Man. So it's pretty much the standard He-Man buck, but there are a few little differences. So we'll go ahead and work down with the articulation here, and I'll show off some of the cool new features with this particular He-Man figure. So as always, head is removable. It's actually very tight, nice firm grip on there, good articulation. All of the other articulation seems to be good. The shoulders are not backwards, which is nice. Everything is put on straight. Rotating biceps, elbows, rotates there at the wrist. The torso articulation, slightly hindered because of the large harness he's wearing, but it's not too bad. Still rotates at the waist fine. The loincloth is the nice, soft, flexible one, so you can get his legs in a good sitting position. You want to put him in the Wind Raider or on Battle Cat, anything like that, he should sit pretty good. One thing I do want to point out is this He-Man figure does actually have the new ankles. The pins are not exposed. They're covered up, which is really nice. And the joints are very tight on my figure. They got that little clicky thing going on there, so we don't have to worry about those weak ankles knocking over Thunder Punch He-Man. So one of the other big differences, of course, is the chest harness. Now, this, of course, is modeled after the vintage Thunder Punch He-Man figure. One of the big differences with that is on the vintage figure, the harness was actually sculpted to the figure. It could not be removed. This is different. Mattel made a brand new harness that just fits over the standard buck. One thing that's good about that is it is removable. You can do that by just popping the backpack off. You can see there are just 4 little pegs that fit in these 4 little holes right here. And then if you want to take it off, it just slides off the front just like that. It's very simple, very straightforward, so you can swap the chest harness if possible, if you want to. One of the things I want to kind of point out with it, though, is because it's not part of the actual sculpt like the vintage figure, is it does seem a little puffy. That's like I said, with that vintage figure, it was part of the sculpt, so it was a little more form-fitting. This one is a little bulky and puffy, and it does look a little strange in the front, but it's not too bad. A little noticeable, though, that it does stand out a little bit like that. But one of the things I do really like about it is it's got the cool vac metallized silver on there, so it's real shiny. It really stands out. The vintage figure had that, too. So that is a really nice touch on there, and it does seem nice and solid. I don't have any flaking or anything like that going on with this one yet. One of the other cool things I want to show you with the backpack here. Now, the vintage Thunder Punch He-Man, the whole gimmick was that it had some of those cool little red caps that used to come with cap guns, and you can pop open that backpack, you can put a cap in it, and then when he did the power punch swing, it popped the cap. Right? That was the whole action feature. Well, with these new figures, of course, they don't have action features this time, but Mattel likes to give us cool little nods to the vintage days, and I think this is one of the most fun nods that they've given us so far. He actually comes with this fake red cap. Looks just like one of the old school red caps you used to get in cap guns, but it's not. It's just plastic. There's no actual caps inside there. But it's really neat because with his shield, you can actually attach it to the shield just like you could on the vintage figure, so you can pop it in on the shield. But what's even more fun is that you can mimic his old action feature by putting it in the backpack. So the backpack here just pops open. It's got a small little clip that folds it down. You can see there's a small little dial piece on the inside, which is formed for the red cap. So you can just plug the little cap in there if you want to. Close it up. And the little dial spins on there as well. You don't really need to spin it to open it like you did on the vintage toy, but it spins. And like I said, there's no real reason for that, other than the fact that it just harkens back to that old school action feature, and it's kind of a fun little accessory. I think that is actually really cool. It's definitely not something that we needed to have, but I like it, and I totally appreciate it. As shown, Thunder Punch He-Man includes a vac metal silver shield, just like the vintage action figure. The clip piece for his wrist is not vac metal, it's actually just a regular silver plastic. So it's made of a more sturdy material and doesn't seem like we have to worry about any breakage when clipping it onto his arm. There's a slot on the shield that can hold the red cap accessory. And you can even use that slot on the front to holster his sword, which I used to do all the time with my vintage figure, so I think it's really cool it can still be done. Now, speaking of the power sword, it's made of a translucent yellow plastic, though it is a very light yellow. It's so light that it's almost lacking in color altogether. Now, I think the vintage sword was actually a deeper yellow, almost golden look, so this one does seem to be a bit different. Unfortunately, I don't have a vintage Thunder Punch He-Man sword to actually compare it to. Now, as a final accessory, He-Man comes with this awesome blast effect that you can snap onto his punching hand. You can see it's designed to form-fit right onto his hand. It snaps on easily with a very firm grip. I think that this is a really neat accessory that helps to show off his Thunder Punch, since we don't actually have that cap sound action feature this time around. Then there's the mini-comic, which is a retelling of the last mini-comic from the vintage toy line that gives us a new story to fit in with the classics bios. Whether you enjoy the story or not, there is no denying that it is pretty awesome to see mini-comics with these figures again. Alright guys, it's comparison time! Here's Thunder Punch He-Man standing alongside his vintage counterpart. You can see the likenesses between the two, but also the difference in skin tone, and how the chest harness differs from being part of the sculpt, like on the vintage figure. For being nothing more than a variant of the main hero, Thunder Punch He-Man really does bring a lot to the table. he is loaded with accessories, has a really fun little nod to the vintage action feature, and comes with the first of the new mini-comics. There's also something special about those vintage variants. I'm sure that's just nostalgia talking, but nonetheless, I really do like this figure. I think all of the stuff he comes with and that cool looking new outfit are enough to make this variant a welcome addition to my collection. Thunder Punch He-Man is part of the 2012 Club Eternia subscription and will be available on MattyCollector.com on April 16, 2012. Until next time,